Top end of Leopold Street where it joins Church Street. Still a few nice buildings around here. Leopold Chambers, just there. I don't know what ARS Longa Vita Brevis stands for, 1888. But across here on Leopold Street was Sheffield Grammar School. Now I don't know if this was a repurposed building before it was used for Sheffield Grammar School or not. It's now a hotel and various other things, but it's very interesting because it's got levels sunk below the ground. It all seems very strange that along there, that's all sunk below the ground. These windows, they seem to be just going down to the actual floor, as though they went further down and there was a lower level. I can't prove anything on that. There is a square within here now, and I remember a few years ago at the Sheffield Dance Festival dancing in here, doing a modern jive exhibition. But these are mainly the buildings you should see in Sheffield city centre, but so many of them have been wiped out in the Second World War and since by the council. You can see the lower levels again here where the railings are. Those levels are much lower. Doesn't make sense to me why you build levels like that. Got the Orchard Square Shopping Centre. Some of this is the original building, because I can remember going in a pub on just around here somewhere. There was a proper pub, not like these plastic pubs we've got now. Office development, I think a lot of this is still empty, and this is what I can't understand, why you build more offices when there's loads of city centre offices empty. So as you can see on here, you can see the original chimney stacks now. That's how the building was originally, and then the Orchard Square was built behind it. Just here, you've got the Fountain Precinct. But previously this was the Grand Hotel. And just there, if I'm right, where it comes onto Leopold Street and it says Besser Max, which is a pub, it looked like a building like this, just there, and I can't understand how they got away with knocking it down. But money talks, doesn't it? And this was built in about 1960s. I understand the Sheffield stock market moved in here. I think it then got bought out by TD Waterhouse years later. But I don't even know if this place is fully taken up. There's the Sheffield Grammar School again. It's either Sheffield Grammar or Sheffield City School. But I think that's a repurposed building from the past. Seems very grand for a grammar school, doesn't it? And then up here, which I'm not going up Orchard Lane, you can see lower levels here, all with the railings, where the level of the building's actually much lower than what we're seeing. So have they raised levels up? Has it been a natural disaster, or has it been built like that? I'm open to anything. Now where it says Bessemer, that's after the Bessemer converter furnace. It wasn't called that when I came in here in the 1980s. Can anybody remember what it was called in 1980s? Put my mind at rest. So you've got a modern part of Orchard Square which has been made to blend in with Fargate. I don't know why we don't get more of this rather than the modern buildings that they throw up. But they blocked traffic off around here during lockdown. They used emergency powers and they've never reverted, and that's a big concern. The more you pedestrianise a city centre, the more you kill it off. It's just so obvious. It doesn't invigorate city centres, it just kills them. And I think that's the purpose with the clean air zone, kill off the city centre and then urbanise it. And I don't want to use Meadowhall, I think it's awful. There's the new town hall, which was built in 1900. Now there was a meeting there for the clean air zone, for the transport in Sheffield, and I couldn't attend it. I just couldn't not go in that building. Don't want to be with those people in that building. They need voting out. So you've got the Orchard Square, and this is where the metal craters were for people selling food, and it's been removed now. It cost 90 grand to remove the metal crates, and now they've put all this around it, but the whole area is a complete mess. Look at it. What's all the obstructions everywhere for? What's all the signs? It's just a complete awful place. As you can see, all these came up in lockdown, if I remember rightly. I started protesting in July 2020, and all this lot was already up, and they blocked everything off, so nobody can get down here anymore. But it's a mess. You look at Sheffield from the 50s, there was Goodwin fountains somewhere around here, whether it was about here. But even further back, this was pedestrianised in 73. Cars came up it before that, up and down it. You could drive up here for Christmas lights on Fargate. And before that, there was a proper tram system in Sheffield that got removed in 1963, and that came up and down here. So we're now coming on to Surrey Street. We've got the old penny bank. It was Yorkshire Bank for a long time. Prior to that, it was a hotel. I forgot the hotel's name, but it had turrets on the top, and they've removed those turrets from the top. This is as close as you'll get to real Sheffield, with old-fashioned buildings, which is how I prefer it. And just here you've got the Montgomery Hall, where they have plays. It's quite a nice little theatre in there. But this is what I call character. This is what a city centre should look like. But most of the moor was actually bombed in the Second World War. I think they then removed a lot of it. So the moor, when you look at it now, it's 1960s, 50s, 60s. You can't find an old building on there. Got something else called the Channing Hall. I don't know what that is, if anybody can tell me, but you can actually see upstairs. There's an hallway up there. I don't know if you can dance up there. Be interested to know. Well, just imagine how exciting Sheffield must have been back in the 1950s. It was great in my time in the 80s. But when I look back at Sheffield in the 50s, it must have just been so much more exciting. Beautiful picture houses everywhere and dance halls. It's quite a bit milder than last week, because last week it was about 3 degrees. So it'll be about 12 or 13 today. Now, just here was Wicker Herbal store. The last time they had a store in Sheffield. and that closed down. But one bit they used to have about 8 wicker herbal stores. Absolutely beautiful. I try and show you positive things in Sheffield when I can, and this is positive. But I don't like the feeling coming from the town hall, so I really don't want to go in the town hall. That takes you down to Norfolk Street. I want to just swap around and show you another angle again. Got the Winter Gardens now. To me, that's the only positive development I've seen since 1960s, the Winter Gardens. Big hotel here. Norfolk Street takes you to back at Peace Gardens. Where streets go, this is the street with the most of the old buildings still left on it. Got the Sheffield Central Library here. It's the hotel there. If you walk round down Norfolk Street, most of that's been wiped out. Like I say, Surrey Street's the closest you'll get. You've got the Crucible Theatre down there, and that the Adelphi Hotel that was originally where the Crucible is. Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United, Sheffield and Hallamshire Football Association and Yorkshire Cricket Club were formed there. So this is Tudor Square. You've got the Leopold. No, sorry, you've got the Lyceum Theatre there. There's a lot of people around today. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, that to me is the only positive development I've seen in Sheffield since the 60s. The Winter Gardens. Now here, as I remember, it was Surrey with a fringe on top, which I think it was the Surrey pub with the fringe hairdressers on top, if I remember rightly. And I remember going in a gym as well in there. Unless it was a fringe gym. Underneath here, there's like it's either a small cinema or a place where they can put plays on. And that's on a lower ground floor. Got Graves Gallery. Just trying to give you an appreciation for it. Now you've got a strange building here because it's the signs on it. Looks like Freemasonry to me. And I think this was a gentleman's club, if I'm right. There you can see one sign. Then you've got like a Jewish star. But I think these something to do with Freemasonry, if I'm right. I didn't actually show you this as well, this building here. It's got a lovely moon sort of crescent on it, and I think this is all symbology. But I'm not enough into this, if you look at that. So we used to spend all the time designing buildings like this. And we can't do it anymore. It seems really strange, doesn't it? We put absolutely awful buildings up. And these buildings are so beautiful. Well, there's a sinister past with the Freemasonry and all of that. The buildings are still beautiful. You can see the Millennium Gallery there. That's Surrey Place. For a one bit, we come down onto Arundel Gate. Well, the Arundel Gate was put through in the 1960s, and before that there was a mesh of small streets around here. Norfolk Street a bit further down connects us straight up to Market Place, and then Surrey Street would have connected up to other roads around here, but that's all been lost in history. If you look at an old map of Sheffield from the 50s, you'll be able to see how the streets were now. Surrey Street connected on to the streets at the back, but the streets at the back down here would have been little mesters, would have been shops, and would have been people's houses. The whole character's gone now. So that's it, just a quick video of Leopold Street and Surrey Street.